Mm-hmm.
And you hear it all the
Mm-hmm.
time on social media where they say, well, how much money you make. Like for an example, when you see
Right.
the other podcasts, they be having women on there talking like, you know, um, is he 6 feet? Do he make six figures? You know, I want a
Right.
man that makes six figures or better. You know,
Right.
they got all these high demands, but little do they know. Do you know what the
They
percentage
do.
is for the type of man that you're looking for? The percentage is very low.
Right.
The percentages are very low for the type of man that you're looking for. You know, everybody is not going to make 6 or 7 figures, and those that do make 6 and 7 figures, trust and believe me, they're not in your percentile. They probably wouldn't even look your way. A
They don't.
six or
I'm gonna
seven
say they
figure
might not even
individual,
want you.
right? It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So women, you guys, if you guys still think like this, you got to be realistic, because you're not going to find a 6 and 7 figure man working a typical job. That's not going to happen. But the part that gets me is
Right.
they want all these high demands, and shit, they not even making six figures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want you to do this. They
And
want to go
see,
to Roof
that's
Chris. They
that's
want to
why they
do
was
this.
that's
They asking you to do shit they can't even do themselves. You understand what I'm saying? So how does that work? How does that work?
right, and that's why they look, and that's why they didn't like Kevin Samuels. He was ruffling all the feathers.
Right, right. I mean, I didn't
He
really
was
care for
basically
him too
saying the
much
same
either.
thing, but he was so straightforward
Yes, yes. Go ahead, Theon. I'm sorry.
because of no, but you're saying the same thing, but it was just his delivery.
Right.
It was just his delivery on it. He was saying the same thing.
Yep. You guys got to be more realistic in what you're asking for. You know, ain't nothing wrong with a man working at the post office.
Right.
He has a job.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing wrong with a man working at
Right.
Walmart and all these other places. He has a job, you know. But
Right.
this is the same woman that's on Section 8 where her rent is $1 and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. Let's make this shit make sense.
Yeah.
We got to do better. I mean, as
She
individuals, we have
not
to do better. You know, um, it just
because
doesn't
the
make sense.
men
You
they
know.
got they got they got their demands and they got their standards and lists too.
Yeah, we men. That's true. Men do have those same. Though men do have those same standards. Men have lists because I'm gonna say this from a male perspective. I'm gonna say from a male perspective, we look at things a little different than the
Mm-hmm.
way women look at things. For an example,
Right.
we don't have a height requirement as a male. We don't care if you're 5 foot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna stop at 5'7". I'm gonna stop there. I ain't going no taller than that. You don't need to be taller than me, goddamn. We laying up, your feet long as mine. No, we not finna do that. No, we not finna do that. but I mean, but
Oh my goodness.
but I'm just saying though, we our requirements are a little different, whether you have a job or not. If we like you, we like you. If we rocking with you, we rocking with you. Or if you work at
Right.
Walmart, you can work at Walmart.
Right.
If we
But guess
rocking with you,
what?
we rocking with you. You know,
Right.
as a man, no man is
But
gonna
guess
ever
what?
say,
If they saying they want that six,
right, we're not gonna tell you you have to make six figures to date us. We're not gonna tell you no shit like that because it's not
no,
realistic.
what I'm saying is what I'm it for but for the men that are making six figures, what if they want you to be athletically fit? They want you to be in the gym 3 days a week. They got they list and here you come looking like Humpty Dumpty. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't be mad because he have a list too. You just not what's on his list.
Absolutely. And that's why I said that what their demands be so high, they not even in the right percentile. You know, everybody, like I say, every man is not
Right.
gonna make us 6 or 7 figures. That's just not gonna happen. And if for those men that's over
Right.
6 feet and over that makes 6 figures or 7 figures, that percentile maybe about 2%. Maybe 2% of the population make that kind of money. So, and here you are on Section 8,
Yeah.
but you over here in this tax bracket. Come on now, make this shit make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's just how I feel though, you know? I see a lot of that. And today, a lot of that is taking place today. And you only see it on social media.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Let me be quiet because I mess around and say something I don't have no business saying. Okay, for real. I mean, I don't know why. I
Let
mean,
it
what could I
ride.
possibly say? What could I possibly say? I'll say something they probably end up abandoning me or something. I don't know. Let me be quiet. Okay. Let's
Let it
move on from
ride.
that question. I'm gonna move on from that question. I mean, I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
And let me say this. I'm gonna say this in a way. I'm gonna say this in a way for those that know me, know exactly where I'm coming from and what I'm about to say. You know, I've been on both sides of that track. I understand it from both sides. I understand it from this male perspective that make this amount of money, and I understand it from the other side that make this amount of money. Okay, so I understand and I get it, and this is why I can speak on it because I've been there. I've been there and I've done that. You know, so that's how I know the demands that women speak of nowadays is totally unrealistic because it's just not going to happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. For you to even be with a man that makes that type of money, or even be entertained by a man that makes that type of money, you have to be a certain type of woman. You have to be a certain type of woman. If you don't fit that criteria, you can forget it.
Absolutely.
You can forget it. You know,
Absolutely.
and like I say, I've been there. I know, and I know this for a fact. I'm not speaking on something I'm not assuming anything. I'm speaking genuinely, and I'm speaking facts. Okay. Uh Lolita Lolita said in her gorilla voice, "Let's go." All right.
Exactly.
Right. But you know, like I say,
Exactly.
that's just I'm just speaking facts, y'all. I'm keeping it real with you. You know, you had to be a certain type of woman to be in that, to even be allowed in that circle. You know, it doesn't happen that way.
And most of those women are single.
Yeah, you know, single women hang with single women. You know, because they outside. They outside, ho. You know,
Yeah.
they outside,
Pretty
and that's
much.
the reason why they're single, because you're hanging with single people. You know, single people they do dumb shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You go home with them. They sleeping
Yeah.
on an air mattress. You know, they don't even have their shit together, but they got all these demands. You know, they got all these demands.
Yeah.
They want you to make X, Y, Z dollars, but they don't have a job. They, you know, they live in their home with their mama, or if they got their own place, their own um, government assistance. You know, where you paying bare minimum for your rent and things of that nature, but you got too many demands. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
None of your biz said she's in the chat. She said, "Damn." She said, "Damn, all like that." Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true. And I'm speaking, like I told you, I'm speaking from experience. I know this for a fact. You know, I'm not just up here ranting just to be ranting. I'm speaking from experience. Trust me, I know this. You know, it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. Okay, Thiana. Let me ask you this: do you think it's fair to expect monogamy without mutual
Okay.
emotion or investment?
Do I think it's fair?
Do you think it's fair to expect monogamy without emotional investment?
No, it's not fair.
Okay,
Because if it ain't no connection, then what the hell you want monogamy for?
right. To me,
Y'all
commitment
just playing
without
around.
to me, I think a commitment without connection, it's just control to me. That's what I think it is.
I
You,
agree. I
you know,
agree.
so okay. Well, I do know, and I do
And
that, and
that's
I
why
know
you
that
get
for a
these
fact.
toxic situations.
Right? Absolutely, absolutely. But let me ask you this, then: why do you think some adults stay in situations for years? Well, let me repeat. Let me
Because they used
rephrase
to
that.
toxic shit.
Let me let me rephrase that. Why do you think some adults stay in situationships for so many years? Now, what was your original reply?
Because they used to toxicity. They used to toxic shit.
Fear of starting over, hoping things would
You're right.
change. Those are some of the reasons why.
But you will be with somebody for 10 years still hoping for change, baby. A whole decade then went by.
Right. Well, let me
You
say
just
this.
they just accepted the toxicity of it.
Okay. Do you think it's worth?
You know,
Do
I
you
hear
think?
so many women that say, I'm
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
hmm.
Go ahead. Make your statement.
I hear so many people say, I don't know what's out here. I'm used to they bullshit, so I just stick with that because I know theirs.
Right.
That's them saying they used to the toxicity.
Right. Okay. Well, I know Lolita in the chat said I think she said a lot of them scared to move on. That could be true. Well, I know that's true. A lot of people are scared to move on because, like I said, it's the fear of starting all over again.
I agree.
Now you got to get to know somebody all
Right.
over again, and you got to meet the family. You got to
Yep.
you understand what I'm saying? You got to really fill a person out to see if
Right.
this your type of person, if this your person or not. You know, starting over
Right.
again, it's tough. It's tough when especially if you're of a
Right.
certain age. If you're at a certain age to where you have to really start all over again, now you're starting over from square one, that could be tough. I can see how it can be fearful to do so. What do you think, Deanna?
Bye.
You said fuck that, huh? You gone, huh?
Fresh start, here I come. Fresh start, here I come. Now I give I give mercy and grace while I'm with you.
Right. Right. Oh my God.
I give mercy and grace while I'm with you, but baby, once it's over, once the nail in the coffin and I'm checked out, baby, hello and goodbye.
Right. Well,
No,
not,
it's just time for a fresh start.
none of your biz said that sometimes they just can't afford to pick up and leave. They don't have the finances or family or friends to leave. Well, I understand that.
I can agree with that too.
Right. I understand that. But let me ask you this, none of your biz. At what point do you say, okay, is enough is enough? At what point do it becomes a time where you say, well, you know what, you're broken. I just can't do it anymore. I mean, because
Right.
even if you're with a person and you're not happy, you're no longer happy, whether you stay in that situation or you move on, you're still in the same space. If you think about it, you're still in that same space.
Right.
You just got a roommate over here, but if you move on, you're still in that same space, the
Yeah.
same space you was originally in. You understand what I'm saying? You're by yourself, but you got a co-part. You can get over here and still be by
Right.
yourself. So, the fear of moving on
Right.
should never be an option. That should never be an option.
I was I was with somebody and they was cutting up, disrespectful, not coming home, all that, baby. When I say I ain't buy a shoe, or eyelash, or nothing,
Uh-huh.
I was eating sandwiches and whatever else. I was stacking every dime I could to get the hell up out of there. So when I say I put myself on lockdown from spending or whatever this and that,
Right.
I was doing the bare minimum so I could save as much as I could so I could get up out of there. And I'm
Right.
like, I'll figure the rest out. I got to get it. The goal is to get up out of here, though.
I know that's right. Well, Lolita agreed with you, Deanna. She said, she's gone. She said I guess she's not sticking around either. You
Yeah.
know, she said she's definitely gone. I mean, but like I say, I really don't see nothing wrong with starting over. Like I said, especially if you're in a situation where you're not happy.
Yeah.
And
Right.
what's the point? What's the point of just holding on to something that's not there? And I understand that it may be some emotional ties, and a lot of things can factor into your decision making. But there is a time you're gonna have to make a decision at some point. At some point, a decision will have to be made.
Right. Because when you ask yourself, when you keep doing check-ins with your own self and you say, am I happy? And you honestly answer no, and you ask your the next question is, can anything in this situation right now be fixed? And if that's no, that's your answer right there. Like there can't nothing be fixed and you unhappy. That's not no safe place to stay in.
Right. I agree with that. I agree. Okay. Well, how do you think social media impacts adult relationships today?
Man, that's a joke.
Okay.
It's a joke because they only highlight the good parts of it.
Right.
They only highlight the trips and the nice, trinkets of material things and the nice plates of food or whatever. But guess what? The man could be working hard all day and then he come home and you ain't even cooked this man nothing to eat. And
Okay.
he paying all the bills or whatever he doing to contribute. But you not gonna post that. You not
Right.
gonna post that you ain't cook him nothing. You
Right.
making it seem like it's all flower and roses and everybody saying couple goals. And then when y'all look up and y'all favorite couple ain't together no more and all the stuff start coming through the cracks. Oh, where's the couple goals at now? No, the goal should be for you to be happy.
Okay. I can agree with
Whether
that. I
you
can
with
see all
somebody
that.
or not, like your happiness is important.
Right. I think social media is really for people that carry on like that, for people that act like that on social media, where you posting all your trips and you
Hmm.
posting your
Right.
plates in your restaurant at these fancy restaurants. People that do things like that, I think is really unrealistic because that's not your everyday lifestyle. You know, they're not gonna post their
Now, for some
everyday
people it
lifestyle.
is. And for some people, but for some people, it is. Some people have created the life that they want to live, and they got it all the way together, and they just living life on their terms how they want to. It's some people that's actually living like that.
Right. I'm not. I'm
I
pretty
know a
sure it
few,
is.
so
I'm
kudos
pretty
to
sure.
them.
All right. I'm not saying
Yeah.
everybody. I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying some people.
Hmm.
Some people are living
Yeah.
a lie through social media,
Right.
and how can we ever
You're
pull the
right.
layers back because we don't know the individual. So the layers can never be pulled back to reveal the truth. So we
Well,
don't
it's
know.
right. It's being done every day. Oh, look at this example. When they see, because now the men's is putting themselves in the camera. Haven't you saw? She talking about she out of town, and he like, yeah, but tell him I paid for the trip. She at the table, she posting her plate of food, but the man, she got the sugar daddy or the man that's not all that attractive, but he paying for everything, and she ain't put this man in that video.
Right.
It's a mess.
Right.
It
It's as I
is.
say, it's like I say, I think social media is just so unrealistic, you know. And like I say, I don't know,
The
but I think a
Lulu
lot of people use social media, for the wrong reasons. I mean, I know there's influencers out here that's making money from their content that they're posting,
Right.
but if you're the average Joe,
Hmm.
and you trying to portray to live this certain lifestyle, come on now, a lot of people can actually read right through
Right.
that, you know. And I've
Hmm.
been on trips almost all across the world, and I got video evidence to support it, but you never see me
Hmm.
post it. I don't even post the content. A lot of
Yeah.
the content I have, I don't even post it. I save it and record it
Hmm.
for memories. You know what I mean? And I done been
Right.
everywhere. It ain't too
Right.
many places I haven't been. But I
Hmm.
may post. You may have seen
Yeah.
some content that I posted from some of my trips, but I don't. A lot of stuff. A lot of times I don't even post it because
Hmm.
that's not my average lifestyle. You know, I might do that. I might take a
Right.
trip once or twice a year. You know, but you got people out
Hmm.
here that's living that life or portraying to live that life, and a lot of people can actually read right
Right.
between the lines. You know,
Yeah.
none of your biz said. She said, I have left my older kid's father, not scared to have started over. For me, the funniest thing was when he called for me to open the front door, and I said, no, you no longer live here. And he hung up the phone on me. Okay. Well, like I say, as long as you know you're not afraid to start over, then you know what it feels like. You've
Right.
been there before. You dealt with that situation before. So you know what needs to happen.
Yes.
At some point, it's gonna happen.
Right.
It's all timing, and it's all about
Yes.
when you'd had enough. That's the only thing I can say. I mean, Tiana, from a
Right.
woman perspective, you might
Absolutely.
be able to answer that question a little better because you just experienced
I
something
mean,
of this
no.
magnitude, right?
Yeah, and that was the thing. And I gave it. We broke up 3 times, but I kept going back to the initial breakup of I should have just stayed gone the first time. You know what I'm saying? But I love him. I want to, you rooting for change and all of that or whatever. Stop tricking yourself out of putting you first and loving you first and what you know to be true. That's the best way I can put that. I tell people you can overthink a million scenarios. You cannot make up a feeling. And when you keep getting gut punched, that feeling keep coming to you, stop trying to make it to be something else. You have to accept the reality of what it is and decide what you're gonna do. That's best for you at that point. Because if what was being done was best for the both of you, you wouldn't be feeling like the way you feeling.
All right. Okay. But with that being said, let me ask you this: do you think love is still the foundation of most
Hmm.
relationships, or have survival replaced it?
I'm not even gonna say survival. I think selfishness has replaced it. It's I want this, and when you don't give me that on either side, male or female, then guess what? Now they doing whatever they want to do,
Right.
and they still want you around, and that's where the manipulation and gaslighting and all that come in because they still want the perks of the parts that they do like about you. Some people don't even like you; they really just like what you do.
Right. But so, other words, you saying that for a person to, well, let me say this. When I meant the survival mode, I meant like, are you
Hmm.
with this person? Are you with this person only for financial gain? That's the survival part of it. That's what I meant when I said that. So, once again,
And that's
is
what I'm
it
saying. But sometimes it's not even that either. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's not even that.
Okay.
Because you got a lot of women today that's making money too,
Right.
and some of them are selfish. They don't even want the man no more. But if I come and look at them or whatever, they don't want me to have him either. So they gonna keep him there and keep him miserable when they could just end it and let him be with somebody that actually probably gonna care about him.
Right. So I do know for a fact that a lot of women are bossed up down in this society. I do know that. But for
Right.
those that are, but don't you think they still need a man in their life? Don't you think it's still beneficial to have that special someone in your life?
I do, but I'm not. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of women don't. They think when they have the money and they think this, they don't need a man. But the whole thing is, you can't say that when you still calling your daddy, your brother, your uncle to come put the damn TV up.
That's
When
why I was going.
if you got car trouble,
That's why I was going.
if
That
you
was going
need
to be
a
my next question. That was going to be what
if
I
you
was
need a
going to say.
dresser moved,
Right.
right, right. Either way it go, you need a man, whether you sleeping with him or not. You need a
Right.
man to do something.
Right. First time something wrong with your car, who you gonna call when something wrong with your car? You gonna call that man to
Right,
try to figure out what's wrong with your car. So at some
right.
point, it's never safe to say you don't need a man. That's
No,
unrealistic as well. That's unreal. Whether it's I'm not just speaking sexually. You know, at some point you will need a man. At some point. And Tiana, we talked about this a
right.
few maybe like episode season 1. We had this debate where
Hmm.
this kind of somewhat came up where women was talking about they don't need a man for anything.
Yeah,
That's unrealistic,
and that's a lie.
right. uh
Because guess what? Even if you're in a relationship and it starts getting, violent or people start putting hands on, who the women gonna call? They calling their uncles and their cousins over there.
yeah, and they brothers and everybody, right.
Exactly. So either way it go, you need a man to take care of the business.
Right. I agree. I love to hear women say that because that makes you look really bad when you say shit like that. But
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Can sex without emotional intimacy
Hmm.
create long-term confusion?
Absolutely.
Right. I agree. I think sometimes,
Because
it
ain't no
blurs.
sex without no emotional.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your statement.
I'm just saying, like, you can't be dealing with nobody. You gonna constantly keep sleeping with this person over and over again, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years, and ain't no type of emotion involved. Cut it out. Just cut it out.
Right. I agree. And like I said, it often blurs your boundaries. It's going to leave one or the other person feeling used.
Right.
So okay, hold on,
Absolutely.
stay tuned.
Looking to boost your brand? Advertise with Situations, the podcast where real life stories meet real time conversations. Reach engaged listeners and grow your business today.
Okay. Question. Do high value men and women look
Hmm.
for love or leverage? This is a tricky question too.
Maybe a little bit of both, but maybe more so. I say maybe a little bit of both,
Okay.
but more so maybe love, because if they're high value and they pretty much can work to get their lifestyle or their life the way they want it, they're looking for love now.
Okay. I can agree.
They looking for somebody to connect with.
I can agree with that. But I think it's more so to me, this is just my personal opinion. I think it's more so leverage. And I'm
Hmm.
gonna, I'm gonna explain when I say leverage
Hmm.
because if the man is high value and the woman is high value, they already on a certain plateau, right?
Right.
We both agree with that,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Okay, now this is where the leverage
Yes.
comes in. The leverage is depending on what this woman do in her career, and depending on what this man do in his career, they're gonna play off one another to take their career to a higher level, or
Right.
to financially
Right.
to become financially wealthy. I mean, you might be already rich, but I prefer to be wealthy than rich.
Right.
So that's where the leverage come in there
But
because
that's why I
now,
said both.
right,
Yeah.
the man can use the woman to get to where he need to be, and she can use him to get to where she needs to be because they both already considered high value individuals. So I agree with you.
Right.
I say both, but I'm leaning opposed to it being 50-50. I'm saying 40.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying 40-60. That's where I'm at with it. Would that
Okay.
be fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I
All
could
right.
say yes if both of them are in it for the right reasons.
Right. Okay.
But sometimes people have money and they don't want to spend their money. They want to spend yours.
Right. But why do you think some people confuse attention with affection?
Because they lacking it. They didn't ever get it. So to them it's all the same.
Right. Once again, I think I had to blame social media for that as well because social media has made it, like a validation to feel like it's love, but it really isn't.
I'm
You
not
know,
gonna blame social media for that. I think that starts out when you were younger.
okay, explain.
Because if you got it, okay, say for instance it was a kid, and then the parents, even if it was a two-parent household and they both working all the time, the kid not getting no affection, so now they're outside looking for attention.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter. They don't know the difference between the two because they not getting either one of them.
Right.
So when they go outside and they get the attention, it could be the wrong attention, but to them, they feeling loved. That's like somebody talking the boy into getting into a game. I wasn't loved. I was left at home by myself or whatever, this and that. They loved me. No, the hell they didn't. Now you're in a world of trouble.
Okay.
But you just accepted whatever attention that was given to you outside.
Okay. We got none of your biz in the chat. She stated that she agreed with Deanna. None of your biz. What you agree with Deanna on? So you saying you agree with Deanna over me? That's what you trying to tell me? Tell me what you saying. Tell me what you really trying to say. None of your
Look,
biz.
Kelvin.
You say you agree with Deanna, huh? Okay, so it's two women versus one man now, huh? Oh, okay. I see what's going on now. Y'all trying to double team me? You and none of your biz. Y'all trying to double team me?
No, but it's so it's like this too. So okay. Remember, I was telling you I had got out of a relationship. So if I hadn't been sexually active in 2 years and this and that or whatever, but then if I'm not going out to be social with anybody, now the first man that comes along, he could be able to tell me anything. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
Because I haven't been out being social. I haven't been sexually active. I haven't been dating anything like that. It's like you still got to live life a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you're lacking something, you will misconstrue that for something else. Or I tell a woman, date yourself. Take yourself to the movies. Take yourself to get that lobster you want. Take yourself to go, buy that new perfume or whatever you want to do. Take yourself for a walk in the park. So when a man comes along, he do that. You not off floor. Oh my God, he did this. He did that. He did that. You're used to being treated well because you treat yourself well. So now
right,
you can actually focus on if he being a genuine person or not, and not the perks.
right. Okay, I get you. I feel you. Okay, well, none of your biz back in the chat. She clarified what she meant. Okay, I feel better now. I feel better about that. She said that when you speaking on the kids lacking affection at home, and they think everyone who gives them affection is love.
Hmm.
So I agree with you. All right, you safe. You safe now. None of your biz. I'm not mad at you no more. You good. Uh, okay. Once again, y'all. You know
Don't,
what?
oh, don't worry about him. I got you lightweight.
Okay. I really appreciate you guys. I swear I do. I appreciate the chat. Y'all in here today, buddy. And I really appreciate that. Um,
We want to show the chat some love, so
Me
thank
too.
you guys for tuning in to today's show.
all right. I just want to show you guys a little love, and I really truly appreciate everybody that's tuned in, everybody that's being a part of today's show. And I just want to say thank you, and it's very heartfelt.
Yes.
Right, appreciate it. We got new
I
member in the
love
chat.
when
Hey
y'all are
Mary, how
part of
you
the chat
doing?
and y'all give y'all opinions.
Right, Mary say hey. She said everybody say hey. Mary, what's going on? How you
Hey,
feel? I
hey, hey.
appreciate you tuning in.
Hey, Mary.
Right. Okay, Mary, I see you just not tuning in, so I'm pretty sure you not know what we speak of right now. But today we're talking about hold on one second. We today's topic for today's show was we talked about sex, status, and silence, the unspoken rules of adult relationships. So that way we can kind of get you up to speed a little bit. That way you have an idea of what we speak of. Okay, Tiana, do you
Yes.
think money should influence relationship decisions?
Do I think it should influence relationship decisions?
Right. Do you think should money influence relationship decisions?
It can in a good way.
Okay. When you say in a good way, what do you mean?
Because if you got, okay, say for instance, if the man approached me and he got the money, but then I don't have so much money or I don't make as much as he make, but he know I have a lot of amazing ideas or it's different ways that I probably could help elevate his business, but I don't necessarily have the financial capital.
Right. Right.
Then we could work together.
Okay. I agree. I agree with that. Because I said that, I said it shouldn't influence it, but, because
Hmm.
what happens if only one person is dependent? So it kind of
Well,
makes
see, that's what
sense.
I said. If the other person, right? But that's also, I love clothes and stuff like that. So if I'm talking to a person and I was like, and he asked me what was a dream or a goal of mine, and I'm like, I've always wanted to open up a boutique, and he see how I dress, and every time we go out, people compliment me on my clothes and stuff like that, and he like that's something I want to help you invest in.
Okay.
But then he'll see it'll be beneficial for both of us. You know what I'm saying? And he may have some things within his business, that I can help him with.
Right. Okay.
So I'm saying in that way, it could be good. But other than that, if a person just trying to take, nah.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. None of your beers said one day I'm going to be a guest on the show. We'd love to have you. I would definitely love to have you.
Yes, come on through,
Right. Come
honey.
on and let's talk about it. You know, um, just so you know, it's real, it's raw and authentic over here. We pull back the layers that, like I said, most
Right.
people are afraid to talk about. You know, and nothing is off the table. We're gonna keep it real. We're gonna keep it raw. We're gonna keep it authentic. So if you feel like you want to be a part of our show,
And right.
go ahead, Tiana. Go ahead, Tiana.
No, and I was just gonna say it's a safe place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Let me ask you this. How can someone tell if they're being
Hmm.
emotionally manipulated?
You feel it. Every time you say something, what you're saying is being dismissive, or it's always a, rebuttal. Like what you say don't matter.
Okay.
Those are some signs that I see.
Right. I agree with that, 'cause, a lot of times you like when your needs go unspoken of or your needs are unmet.
Hmm.
Those are signs,
Right.
because when that happens, you tend to not want to bring things up when your needs are not being met,
Right.
and that's how you can tell if you've been actually manipulated or not. Those are just a few pointers.
Right. And then when you try to communicate, right. So when you try to communicate, and then they're like, "Oh, you crazy? Oh, you tripping?" And I'm not tripping. Evidently, it's bothering me because that's why I'm talking to you about it. And the fact
Right,
that you dismissive, it means you don't give a damn.
right. How likely is that to happen in society today? Do you think a lot of that is taking place
Every
into
day.
society today?
Absolutely.
Okay,
And that's why people be, what was our last time? That's why people be having backup plans.
right.
People on the side.
Yeah,
Fulfilling voids that they're not being met with the
being
person that
met.
they with or at home.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I'm gonna ask you this question, but I already know. I already know your answer. I already know how you going. I already know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say. But
Okay. Okay.
none of your biz in the chat. Before I'm gonna none of your biz stated when you're still walking on eggshells. That's true. That's true. I totally agree with that
Absolutely.
100%. She said when people are walking around on
Absolutely.
eggshells. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Now let me ask you this: do you think
Hmm.
submission is still expected in adult relationships?
I do.
Okay.
And I'm actually a woman that give it.
I knew you was going to say
But
that. Go ahead.
I'm just thinking like a lot of women today, they don't feel like they're gonna be submissive unless some coins are there. They don't even care if you treating them right.
Right.
If you make that money that they saying they want or giving them what they want, then they open up the submission. To me, when I'm in the presence of a real man, it's just natural for me.
Right. Okay. Like I say, I already knew what your answer was going to be to that question, but I had to ask it anyway because this is something you
Uh-huh.
always speak on. How you have no
Yes.
problem as a woman being submissive to your man, but I still wanted to
Right.
have you put that out in the universe because we need more women like that. We need more women to feel the way you feel about certain situations in your relationships.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, okay. Um, Let me ask you this: do you think adult relationships require
Hmm.
strategy or just honesty?
Both.
Okay.